sisters, thanks for joining me here in the attic. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and we'll get to crafting and memory keeping. I can't believe we are already at week 4 of our hashtag Okhuga 2024 collaboration. If this is your first time here, just a brief recap. This has been a collaboration for the whole month of October, where each week we have been doing different parts for a junk journal, the signatures, embellishments. Last week was journal covers, and this week we're going to bind it all together and complete our journal. So if you've missed anything, there is a playlist. It will be in the description box where you can go back and catch up. There will be prizes at the end, so do go ahead and catch up on all the videos by all 8 collaborators, and make sure you like, subscribe, and comment to all of the videos to be entered into the drawings. And be sure to check out everybody's channel to find out where they are posting their freebies so that you can go over and snag all the freebies for this great collaboration. There are no freebies this week as we are finishing up the journal and binding it all together. So now's the time to go back to everybody's channel, catch up on all the videos, make sure you've liked, subscribed, and commented on everything, and grab the freebies from their social medias. Today, we're going to start working on binding the journal. When I left off last time, I showed you that I did a leather bound spine on the back and left this open because I want to do a hidden binding system here. So I'm going to clear off the desk and we'll get started. Okay, what we're going to be using here to do this hidden binding is I have cut another strip of the leather that I used for the spine here, but I want to use the other side of that piece. It looks more like a suede that will end up being put in the journal like this once I've got my signature sewn to this. So I'm going to move this over to the side for right now so I don't get any glue on that. And we'll start working on getting our signature sewn into our inside spine strip. Find the middle of my journal. She turned out kind of chunky. First thing I want to do is make sure I do have some little pieces that aren't the same size, so I want to make sure I've got those where I want them. Like this piece right here is a little smaller, so I want to move that up a little bit. I think that was the last one. So get that. Get my pages as lined up as they can be, because again, she is kind of chunky. Get back to the middle. And my dolly here will only go into one part of this 3-hole pamphlet stitch, so I may end up coming back and adding some glue to that since it won't be sewn in very well. So I get my pages lined up and go ahead and put some clamps to hold everything together. I'm going to lay the dolly over to the side right now while I get everything lined up because it's not going to be clamped in. I'm going to have to just kind of put that in as I go. Alright, when I get that done, I have seen people that have book cradles that they put their signatures in to punch their holes. I don't have one. I'd love to have one, but I don't have one right now. So I just use a thick book that I found at a thrift store that I've designated as my bookbinding book. You can mark your signature if you want even placement of your hole. Again, I am not super big on measuring. I kind of wing it. If you're real precise and want it to be perfect, you want to go ahead and measure what the center of your signature will be and how far in you'll come here. I did forget to put my binding strip on there, so I am going to need to go back and do that. That just shows you Nothing's perfect in the junk journal and craft world. We often forget things and have to come back and adjust. So don't be afraid to try things, try new things. In the end, it's only paper. And as I have said before, if you make a mistake, there are very few mistakes that are made that you can't come back and cover it up with more paper, more stickers, more embellishments. I'm using some little clamps here to hold that spine on, because I want to be sure that that doesn't move in addition to the pages. If you were doing this just in your regular junk journal cover, probably wouldn't need as many clamps. Generally I just clamp it twice into my actual cover, but since this is going to be a hidden spine and that spine binding there is a little narrow, I wanted to make sure it was good and clamped. So what I'm going to do, try to angle this where you can see it, is I'm going to punch a hole with my awl. And again, I just got this bookbinding kit off Amazon. If I can find the link, I will put that in the description box. But I'm going to kind of see where I feel like the middle is. Punch my hole through that, and I'm probably going to have to put right much pressure on here to go through that leather. And then I normally come in about 1 inch from the top. Do the same thing. And then again about 1 inch from the bottom. And poke my hole there. Okay. And I just use the book basically so I don't poke myself with the awl. If you don't have a book, it's not something you have to do, because a lot of times I'll take it back out of the book and just make sure that I did go all the way through. You can see that before I start sewing it in. When I'm getting ready to bind my signature in, what I do is I have used embroidery floss, I have used waxed thread, which this is, it came with my bookbinding kit, and I just measure 3 lengths of the project I'm doing. So 1, 2, and 3, and then if I think I might want to do a dangle or anything in that signature, I'll go ahead and measure 1 more, just so I'll have plenty of thread to create that dangle with if I want to do that. I haven't decided if I'm doing that yet, so I went ahead and just cut the 4 just to be sure. You want to get your bookbinding needle. Again, this came with the kit. Basically what that is it's got a large eye. If you can see that. Try to angle that so you can see it, so that this, especially the waxed thread, can go through that eye. You'd have a hard time getting that through a regular needle. I'm going to go ahead and poke a hole in the center of this just so I can add that when I get ready to do the middle here. And for my 3-hole pamphlet stitch, the way I do this, and again, this is a personal preference, a lot of people do it different ways, is I start in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and add that, start in the middle, go all the way through, and as many signatures as I have here, it's going to take me a little bit to work that through because it's really thick. Sometimes I'll even get something I can try to push that needle through so I don't end up stabbing myself with the needle. And you'll pull it through. Make sure you don't pull your thread through. You want to leave a tail of thread there. Then I go down to the bottom from the back. You'll go through the back hole, if you can see that. It's kind of hard to do this and make sure y'all can see it on camera. And again, there's a lot of junk journal to go through here. So I'm going to push that back up. All right. Then you're going to go to the top hole, go back through, get your needle through. And you want to make sure you pull that one all the way through to where that second side of your thread is through. And then you're going to go back through the center hole. When you're going through that center hole again, be careful not to split this thread if possible, because then you won't be able to tighten your signatures. So I kind of try to hold it down. I have even clamped it sometimes to where it's out of the way with my clamp. And you want to go back through that hole, trying to be careful not to split that thread. That dolly is going to kind of be in the way a little bit, so I'm going to work through that. Try to get that back through all my signatures. Okay, once I've got that needle started there, I'll put my dolly back so I can try to get that in without tearing that. And then work that back through. Hold my dolly and then pull my thread through. Okay, and now what you're wanting to make sure you're doing is that you've got one of your binding threads on the left side and one on the right side of your center string. Okay, then I go ahead and take my binder clips off, get those out of the way. And now I'll straighten up so that I have equal amounts of thread. So what I'll do is just take my middle thread and adjust it. And then pull my string. And if you've split your strings, this is what I'm talking about, because I did catch it because I was going through so many. Just kind of pull those apart so that you can tighten up your journal. And you'll pull to tighten. Just be careful, kind of pull at an angle. That's pretty close. I want to do just a little bit more. And then my ends are now equal, if you can see that. So I pull at an angle and tighten, and then I'm going to do a square knot to finish this off. So with the square knot, basically what you're doing is you're taking your two threads and crisscrossing them like that. And then you're going right over left. This is your left, this is your right, right over left, and back through. And then left over right and back through. And that makes a square knot, and normally that's a pretty good knot that won't allow your journal to come loose. You can double knot that if you want to. And I am going to go ahead and glue this down right here. I'm not going to glue where it's been cut. I'm just going to glue this center piece so that that doesn't come out of my journal, since it only is attached with that one part of the signature. And just do this side. So now we've got this attached to this part of the spine with our 3-hole pamphlet stitch. If you were working in a regular journal and you didn't want this to be hidden, this would have been on the outside here, but I did not want that to show through here. So that's why I'm doing it like this. I hope that makes sense and you can see how that works out once I get it glued in. Now what I need to do is glue this piece into here, and I am going to try to make sure I have plenty of glue here because all of this being held in is going to be based on this one spine piece being glued into here. So I'm going to put glue on the book itself and on the strip to make sure everything's glued in well. And I'm going to go ahead and leave it open to the center so that I can glue it in flat. And I'm going to use Fabri-Tac because of the leather fabric I'm using here. So you want to make sure you put plenty of glue on this spine piece. And again, I probably overdo with glue sometimes. Sometimes less is more. I don't necessarily trust that with glue. Alright. Do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm getting good coverage. My piece of leather. Real important, make sure you've got your book right side up and your pages right side up. Again, I'm probably pointing that out because I won't confirm or deny that I have glued things in upside down. So get that lined up with your spine. And go ahead and start burnishing that into place with your fingers. And make sure it gets good contact. With that back spine piece. If you have any that starts coming out, you can wipe it up with your microfiber towel. Take my burnisher, make sure I'm burnishing that in really well. Turn it over, do the other side. Make sure those edges are burnished really good and make real good contact. And then from this point, I like to leave this and let this dry overnight. Probably a few hours are plenty, but I'll normally leave it and let it dry overnight just to be sure I'm not moving the book around or doing anything to it that's going to weaken that glue bond. So I'll let this dry overnight and I'll come back and we'll finish this book off. I do go ahead and leave my spine up. I'll just take 2 books. Do make sure you don't have any glue coming out so that you don't glue these extra books down on your backing paper. But I'll just have those to where my signature is staying up, so it's not putting undue pressure on right or left of that binding. It's pretty equal. And I'll leave that and we'll come back. Alright, I've let my journal dry, and this is what we have. It's sewn in. You can't see that from the back, so it's hidden. So now what I want to do is go back and do a little quick flip and see if I want to add anything, any last minute embellishments to finish this out. This is the time I normally try to add any sentiment strips that I might want to put in the journal, or any last minute embellishments if it looks like it's missing something. I'm going to take a look at my sentiment strips and just see. I think that one might look good there. Go ahead and cut that out. These were part of, I think it was Stacy's kit. I want to tuck that in just like that. I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. I want to do to the journal before I call it finished. I want to add a little dangle here that is the string from the center of where I sewed in the signature, and I want to add a closure. What I'm going to do for my closure is I'm going to do a post-bound closure with an eyelet and just use a hair tie as my elastic that will go over the post. So I'm going to get my ruler out, and this time I am going to get the center so that I can have the eyelet and the post at the center of the cover. It's about 4 1/4 is the center. I'm going to come in a little so that where I do the hole for the post won't be close to the edge and end up pulling out. I want to make sure I'm far enough away from that edge to give me good clearance. So mark there. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side for the eyelet. So it should be the same, 4 1/4. Come in enough to have good clearance. Then I'm going to use my crocodile. And for this, I am going to need to use the larger hole punch. Go ahead and open the book up. Get that centered there. That. Go ahead and punch my hole here. There. Alright, and for the post, all you have to do is screw the post in. Just get that tight, and there's your post. Now for the eyelet, you have to use your crocodile to set that eyelet. I want the flat part of the eyelet to be on the back. Go ahead and change my dial. So last time I used it, I used it for a 1/8 inch eyelet. Let's go ahead and change that. And then just set your thing. Okay, I found a different tie I wanted to use versus the black one I first showed you. So let's see if we can get this one in there. See if I can get this to work the way I want it to. Tighten that up. Ah yes, I like that much better than the black one. Alright, there we go. Gives me a little room to grow if I want to add some more embellishments as I start working in the journal, or if I decide to sell this one. If somebody wants to add things to the journal, it gives them a little bit of room to grow. Now I'm going to add the dangle. I found this little leaf teardrop dangle that I'm just going to tie on. See if I can get both ends in there, because I'd like to knot it to where it's a little closer to the top. There we go. That in there. And I think what I'd like to do is put it to where it's right about there. A little bit further down. And I'm just going to tie a knot to hold that in place. I'm going to try to get my knot as close to that as possible with my tool. As I'm tightening it. And And then that'll keep that from coming down. Alright, I like that. I hope y'all have been enjoying hashtag Akhuga 2024. Be sure to watch the rest of the ladies for this final week, and remember you have some catch-up time to watch any of the videos you may have missed. To enter into the giveaway, watch and comment on all the videos by October 31st. And join me here in the attic next week, and I will do a full flip through of my finished journal. So until next time, y'all take care.